I was in a meeting, and like so many people, when the first plane hit the first tower, we heard about it and didn't really know what was going on. But by the time the second plane hit, I was out of my seat, running to my office to call my oldest daughter. Although it didn't make any sense, I knew she was on assignment in Croatia, and I was worried about what was happening to her.
I was driving my Chevy Malibu up to meet at Peoria Central High School, some students, and I had been listening to a DVD, or to a cassette, actually an old cassette, because that's all we get is cassette players, and I turned it off when I was just passing Tremont, and on the radio they were just responding to what had happened.
The meeting that I was going to, a woman that was in attendance at the meeting, her son had an office in one of the buildings in New York City. She, of course, was in shock. She left the meeting and went home to be with her family, and then found out a few days afterwards that he was not one of the survivors.
We were in the meeting on this crisp, just beautiful Tuesday morning when every different one started going outside. And they came back in, and the chancellor said there's been an airplane that crashed into one of the World Trade Towers. And as probably within 15 minutes, we disbanded the meeting. I went back to my office. I had phone calls from my children saying, "Where are you? You haven't gone on an airplane." And within just a few minutes, started watching what happened.
There were a lot of events going on, so I was doing a lot of catering. I was running all over campus, and I had heard the news that the planes had hit the Twin Towers, and they were setting up televisions out here in the conference area so people could see what was happening. So you could actually see one of the planes hit after it was the second plane that hit. It was weird. It was just like, is this a movie? You couldn't believe it was happening.
I was in 3rd grade, and there were construction workers outside the school where I was, like my elementary school, and I was hearing this awful like noise on the radio, and people were like freaking out, and all the construction workers just stopped working, and it was like right outside the window. And then we go to lunch later, and then the teacher comes back and is like, "Okay, you guys," and she writes down like the Twin Towers, and I was like, I don't even know what those are. And then all of a sudden she's like, "There's been an attack on America," and we just didn't even know what to do. Like, it was just silent, and she starts crying, and then we're like, oh, I don't even know what to do.
We were in class, we were doing work, and then the teacher just like turns on TV, like she stops doing the work and she turns on the TV, and we're like, what's going on? And we see just like all of this like smoke, and actually when we were watching it, the second plane hadn't hit, so we were watching it, and then we're like, what's going on? And then it hits again, and we're like, oh my God. And then the teacher, she doesn't really know what's going on, so she's trying to explain it to us, and teachers and principals are coming over, the announcements, it's just like chaos.
I was in 7th or 8th grade, junior high, in my study hall class, and I was drawing an actual American flag for my friend for his art class. And then all of a sudden the intercom buzzed off, and our principal said, attention students, tragedies happened to America.
It was freshman year of high school. I was in history class, coincidentally. When I walked into class, the first plane had already hit, and my teacher had the TV on, and students were quiet and they were watching it. Initially, I thought like it was possibly like a movie or something that we were watching, but when I realized that it was happening for real, I got scared and freaked out about it.
I was in my 5th grade math class at Riverton Middle School, and I remember my principal turning on the intercom and saying, you know, everybody please turn on their TVs to this channel. We have had a tragedy happen to the US of A. And so we turned on the TV, and everybody literally just stopped what they're doing, and no one moved for the rest of the day. I don't even remember going to other classes, or we literally stayed there and watched TV for the rest of the day.
I know for a fact that I was in school. I remember my teacher turning on the TV to see the news and to see what was going on. And I was really confused about everything. I was like, what is going on? Like, why are these people so worried about, you know, what's going on TV?
I remember hearing about it, and it just totally shocked me, man. I mean, and then when I seen it on TV, it was just, I was awestruck to be, I mean, it was just one of the most tragic things I ever seen.
I remember somebody coming in and telling me that a plane had gone into the tower, and I'm like, yeah, right, you know, and first thing in my mind, I'm thinking a tiny little plane, something happened, a heart attack or something like that. And we didn't think that much of it. And the next thing I knew, somebody comes running in, they're like, they just hit another one.
I was in one of the women's office that she was the director of career development at the time. And she had a tiny little radio that she sat over in the corner of her office. And as I was getting her trash, I heard a couple of guys say something about a plane hitting a building. And, you know, we were kind of, wow, that doesn't sound good.
It didn't really come home to me until I walked into Peoria Central High School. And I walked in and I could see in the commons area, not commons area, more of a theater area, they had 3 TVs up. And that's when I saw it all. And my breath was taken away. I was shocked.
Probably the most difficult time, on Saturday morning, I was flying to North Carolina to see my father. And I was on the first flight out of Providence. And for whatever reason, we flew down the Hudson River. And I looked down and I could see the World Trade Towers burning and the smoke still coming up.
A couple of days after September 11th, we decided to bring the campus together, and we knew that the local Elks Lodge usually carried this gigantic American flag in the parade every year. So we called them on the chance that they might loan it to us, and they did. So we unfurled it from the top of Brookins Library while the campus was assembled. We observed a moment of silence, and then someone spontaneously broke into America the Beautiful.
As the 10th anniversary of September 11th approaches in a few days, I hope we'll all take that time to pause and think about those we've lost, all the families that were affected, but not only think about that and mourn the loss of so many people, but also to think about our role as citizens, to think about our role as community leaders, to make a commitment to be of service, and to really be engaged in the dialogue that has to do not with what makes us different from each other, but what makes us the same, what we have in common.
Being proud of my heritage and my country, and being able to say, you know, I am proud to be an American, and we moved through that, we got through that together as a country, and that's amazing, and being able to come together stronger.
Today, I think it continually reminds me of how strong our country is and how we've been able to deflect any additional obvious threats like that. It reminds me too of how vulnerable we are.
I think it's something different for me just because my dad is in the military, and I have had him go overseas now because of this whole thing. So it's very, I'd have to say, political for me, but it makes me very proud of my America and proud of the military and proud of my dad for what everybody is doing for our country.
I think it means it was I guess like a humbling experience kind of, and we're just kind of like more protected now. Like we were protected, but because we know the implications of 9/11 to the country and other countries, we just kind of know, I guess, more how to protect ourselves and how to feel more secure. And we just kind of like all came together, and people that had never even considered being soldiers are now, you know, thinking, you know, I really, really want to fight for my country to maybe prevent this from happening again.
It does mean something to me. I mean, a lot of people died, unfortunately, and I feel very sorry for those families who lost, you know, their families, and it's just really sad.
It was a day that, in a sense, the world fell to a place we've never been before. So that's a big thing.
It means a lot to me that we haven't been attacked again, that Bin Laden is gone, and hopefully, you know, things on that nature will straighten out.
I think it means that we need to remember that it happened and why it happened.
The people who did that really did not care about human life. And the difference between those who destroy life like that and the rest of us, our job is to help life. That's what we're about at universities. It's what we should be about as a nation.